Welcome to my Anglesey Circumnavigation Leg 3. We're off over there to Carnarvon today. Well, obviously I'm going to need to get the anchor up, but the first thing I'm going to need to do is attach the bridle I set up yesterday. Should be quite straightforward, as you can imagine, but it's all down to your knots. Did you put them in so they'll come out, or they're not going to come out? Well, these seem to be playing ball. They're only loose bits of rope that I have knocking around, and I just tie them off in different places. And I just think it's so handy to have little bits. Well, if you can remember rightly, I put these on so that my anchor snubber, which is the black rope you can see on the cleat, ran through the bow roller parallel so it couldn't chafe on anything. But nothing's going to chafe anymore because we're taking it off. So if we wind the chain up until that takes the load, because the load's still on the snubber, as soon as it becomes free, the hook much or less detaches itself. You can bring your snubber back in now and take it off the cleat, because we won't be needing that for a bit. That'll need to go back to cockpit, and something else that'll need to go back to cockpit is my spanner, which I use to drop the anchor. And there it is. So these two bits can disappear. Once I've successfully got rid of them, I can start winding some chain up. Now, I reckon it's about 5 or 6 inches that comes up with one stroke. So it's a pretty slow job, but there's no effort involved in it, and your hands stay clean and dry. And there's good advantages to that. Also, it can stop when it's locked off at any point, allowing you to get rid of any weed or anything you pick up along the way. There's other advantages as well. You can just stop and go and do something, check a position or anything, and it's all still held. I'm tipping the chain at the moment because as it runs into the locker itself, it makes a little pile, and the pile gets all the way up till it congests the chain pipe coming out. So I have to tip the pile over every now and then. This is one of the reasons I keep the warp on top as well, because it allows the chain to stay further down. Keeping the chain further down allows it to fall into the locker easier. Also keeps the gravity down there where you want it to be. Otherwise, if your chain's on top, you're making things top heavy that don't need to be, and your keel has to work a bit harder to compensate for it. Look at this for a little effort. One finger in the middle of the bar, and I can still do it. So that's how easy it is. Well, if you're actually pulling the chain up by hand, you'd be using both your hands with all your grip to pull it along. So it does make life a lot easier having a bit of leverage. This is as fast as I can actually bring the anchor up now. You need to be paying attention once you feel it stiffen up, because then it frees up. And then when it frees up, it means it's in mid-air, and it also means the boat's drifting along. If I was in a congested anchorage at this point, I would handball the last bit of chain just into the locker for now and put the anchor on board, and then sort myself out as soon as I found a bit of space to do so, or sea room. Just as the anchor comes out the water, I've just jammed the chain up just there by the gypsy. It bunched up because a little mound had appeared at the other end, down in the locker that you have to knock off, so I'll just pull the chain in and then sort it out. As soon as the anchor's up and you've pulled it into place, put the pin in, you got loads of time to do whatever you want. And the first thing you really need to do is make sure that you've got sea room. This chain just needs sorting out here. The link's stuck. Once I've dropped the link, I can wind the rest in. And once the chain is fully home, all I've got to do is put my warp back into the top of the locker and stick the lid on. Now the warp's tied together, so it makes it easier to get in and out. And obviously I only use the warp when I'm in really windy conditions. That's the warp away. Notice I'm still looking around, making sure I'm not drifting anywhere at all times. I have to release that in order to get the right angle to be able to put the lid in place and then put the pin back in afterwards. It's all good because it means it all holds itself into place. Once I've passed any other boats that are there in the anchorage, and I get myself into a clear spot where I feel comfortable, and the tide's not doing anything strange and the wind's not doing anything strange, then I know I need to go and recover the winch handle, which is attached to the gypsy on the windlass. So I'll go and get that, because then I feel comfortable that everything's sorted out and everything's away. and I don't have to worry about anything, because if I've got a line on the bow or something to do, it plays on my mind and it doesn't let me have a clear head to think of what I need to do next anyway. I need to run the engine as I'm going down the straight, as there's no wind and I need a bit of steerage. There's plenty of movement of water, as you can see. Carnarvon comes along ever so quickly, and you got to be ready to get in when you get there. So you call up the dockmaster and he'll speak to you and he'll tell you where he wants you. Ordinarily, when you go in, the visitor's berth is a long pontoon on your starboard side. So in other words, you're turning right when you go through the entrance, and you would normally just moor up that way, put your fenders on the starboard side. If you want to be facing the opposite way because of winds, it's probably better off going in, mooring on your starboard side and then warping the boat round. That's the entrance dead ahead of us just there on our starboard bow. I need to line myself about 90 degrees to the entrance to go in, perpendicular, so that I can see whether the tide's pushing me or not. It's quite normal to ferry glide your way into this dock, but I'd rather be prepared, so I set my angle up away from the door itself, or away from the entrance itself. As you can see, I've already stuck my fenders out on the starboard side, and I've got my lines ready for going in as well. I've even got the gate open on my guard wires so that I can step off easily when I get there. Now the current's travelling in the same direction as we're travelling at the moment, so it stands to reason that I'm going to have to point slightly the opposite way in order to go in a straight line to get into the entrance. I'll start bringing it round now, knowing that I'm drifting to port all the time. So I'm levelling up more or less at the moment, but as you can see, the boat is still slipping to port a bit. Well, depending on how much tide's running through here and how fast, you can be at 45 degrees going through this entrance, but today it's not too bad. As you can see, I'm not holding much of an angle. I'm just pointing at the starboard wall, and that's allowing me to go in on the correct angle, and she'll hold this. That's the dockmaster's tower there. There's a new dockmaster now, and his name is Yuan, and he seems like he's a really nice chap and suited for the job. He's got a big pair of boots to fill, but I'm sure he'll live up to it. As you creep into the dock, everything settles down. It's quite wind protected with the big buildings around it, so you can slow right down and crawl in. And you can see the pontoon opening up on my starboard side now. You're right at the screen. That's the visitor's pontoon. If there's a couple of boats going together, they would normally be rafted together to save room for everybody else who wants to visit. Ewan, the new dockmaster, he should be waiting there for me now. He should be ready to catch my lines and give me a hand to tie up. There's not much in the way of currents within the dock to worry about, and the wind normally travels the length of the dock, although it's a lot less reduced from what it is outside. There are, however, a few shallow areas to worry about, so if you've got a really deep keel, I would talk to Yuan before you came in. Well, there's a lovely large open section ahead of me of pontoon there, and the chap you can see walking along waiting for me, well, that's Yuan, the dockmaster. I think for so much space for one tiny little boat, I think it should be quite easy for me to be able to actually berth along there. I think it's quite funny myself that when I'm in a marina or a dock and I'm trying to come alongside something or get into a space, that I prefer no wind at all. Yet as soon as I get out onto the water, it's completely the opposite. It's not no wind you need then, it's wind. So we want the best of both worlds all the time, but that doesn't seem to happen. See, no panic at all. Just drifting slowly in now. She's got a tiny little bit of way on it, and I've got the rudder so that the way's bringing the boat in on the stern. And this will allow me to just step off with the stern line, as Ewan's already got hold of the bow line, and it's still tied at the front and the back. Well, I'll lash the stern line to a cleat, and this will take the way off the boat, which in turn will give me plenty of time to undo this bow line off the rail here. And I'll be able to tie that off as well. We're in no rush, and it's not a permanent mooring because we're going to go forward in a bit, just take the boat along with the warps. It's because the motorboat just ahead of me, he's going to depart in a minute or so, and I'll be taking his space, so I can leave this space for the next visiting yacht that comes in. The chap with the motorboat's now just casting off. He's just pulled his bow line in, so he's hopefully getting ready to go at this moment in time. It looks like his stern's coming out now. And away he goes, and that should leave a space for me to be able to pop into. Moving the boat along now we're going to do it just by pulling on the warps, and it's simply called warping the boat along, not needing the engine or anything else, and just using the lines to manoeuvre the boat, warping a boat along. Again, I make the stern cleats off first, which stops the boat from going any further forward, and then that gives me plenty of time then, after Ewan's tied the bow line off, to sort everything else out. I have a couple of friends following me in, and they'll probably be rafted to me, and my brother's going to create a raft just behind me. And here we all are, bunched up, Gigi on the outside with John on it, Aisha M with Paul on it, me, and behind us we've got Jay on Tarka and Mark on Firecrest with Claire. And it still is a very beautiful day to enjoy, so let's have some fun in Carnarvon. And I'll see you soon for leg 4. Bye for now.